renewing your non-lucrative visa. Now, as we know, the non-lucrative visa has been around for a while, but for British citizens, it hasn't been around for that long, and a lot of people have chosen to take that route when coming to move to Spain. So in this video, albeit that what I talk about would apply for anybody, any nationality has a non-lucrative visa who wants to renew it for a further non-lucrative visa, we're not going to discuss in this video switching it for a different platform. The documents would apply, but I am going to be very specific to people coming from the UK. Okay then, so as we know, many people are now happily living into their years 2 and 3 on their renewals, and we have a lot more experience of what they are requesting from British citizens. When we start the process with our clients, we send them a checklist, which I have here. You're probably thinking this is the second video in a row that Chris has actually got notes. No, this is our checklist here. I'm going to run through it and then just give you extra notes and my opinion as we're going through the checklist on how you need to present the documents for the renewal. Okay, so the first thing is what is the renewal period? Well, you can renew from anything up to 60 days before the TIE card expires, all the way up to 90 days after it's expired. You can submit the renewal documents. All right, so you've got a 5-month window. Now, what I can say to that is if you can submit them around the time the card expires, that seems to be the best way. It doesn't matter, we have submitted them really early, literally on day 57 before it expires. The problem we have with that is that sometimes they take an awful long time to respond. We had one that took up to 4 months to come back to us because they submitted the documents quite early. On the other hand, if you submit the documents right towards the back end of the window, they seem to come back at us very quickly. But then you don't want to leave it until the last day. Also, if you've got travel plans and you need your TIE card for something, it's good to get the documents in as soon as possible. So there is that window, and as we know, that immigration doesn't run that fast, I'm afraid. They're the sub-delegations of the governments in each province of the people who approve the renewals, and it's not always that quick, though some we've had. Our record is 2 days, and our worst one has been over 5 months. It was a really early application, and then they sent us the resolution way after the card expired, but before the end of the 90 days that you're allowed to submit. Okay then, so now we know you've got a 5-month window, 60 days before or 3 months after the card expires to submit the documents. Now, how do you apply? Well, you can apply 2 ways. You can either book an appointment with the immigration office in the province headquarters where you live, and you can go and present those documents in person. I personally wouldn't suggest doing that, apart from the fact that immigration are now trying to push everybody onto a digital platform using a digital signature. Okay, if you do submit your renewals physically in person at a desk, they're going to look at them, they're going to take them off, they're going to scan them, send them to the department where you could send them directly to anyway, but then they're going to notify you using the post. Okay, they're not going to digitally notify you. Whereas if you use the second method I'm about to explain, you will always get something back from them. If something's posted out to you, say it's a letter requiring more documents, then you could be in danger of actually losing that letter and missing the requirement window to send the documents in. Okay, evidently for my clients who are watching this video, because this video we're going to send out to all of our clients who are going through the renewal process, this isn't a problem for you, because the second way of submitting your documents is on a platform on the government website called Mercurio. I'll actually put a link to it below if you want, that's not a problem. Now, Mercurio can be accessed by either your digital certificate, if you have one, or it can be accessed by a representative's digital certificate. So, us as representatives in the Upsticks group, we will present the documents on your behalf. If you wanted to do it yourself, you need a digital certificate and you would need to go in and do the process yourself. Okay, so what documents do you need to present? Okay, let's get started. Well, first of all, you need to present a document called a Modelo EX01. Okay, the X01 is exactly the same document that you presented last year for the initial application at the consulate, except on the second page you have to tick a different box. You have to tick the box that says you are on your first year's renewal. Okay, for our clients, we prepare that document for them, we send it to them, they have to sign it and send it back to us. All right, so we have to then prepare that for submission on the platform. There's also another document. If you're doing this yourself, you don't need to sign this document. If you're doing it with a representative, then, so our clients, we're going to send a document to you, which is called a Documento de Designación de Representante. This document is the representation document that we need you to sign to allow us to present the documents on your behalf. Again, we prepare it all, we send it to you, you then scan it back to us, and we go ahead and submit it. Now there's another form here which is called a Modelo 790-052, which is the 790-052 tax form. Now, if you're one of our clients, you're not going to see this form, you're not going to see me or Tom in the bank paying it, getting the stamp, scanning it and putting it in the file. But if you're going to do it yourself, then you need to go and pay a 790-052 tax form at the bank. You will need to then scan the proof of the payment and then add it to the documents that you are going to submit. Okay, so remember, the application forms, you've got three: the Modelo EX01, Designación de Representante, the representation form, and the taxes. It's very, very important that you make sure that you pay the taxes before you submit the documents. All right, we'll do this for our clients, but if you're doing it yourself, make sure you pay them. Okay then, I think this is now a good time to talk about document quality and what we would have to present, but if you're presenting it yourself, how to present it. Right, now a lot of the immigration platforms are really hard because sometimes they go down and stuff like that, but they are very strict on the size of the documents that you can upload, which may seem ridiculous because then they ask you to upload so many. All right, and the reason I'm saying that is because we're coming on to our first document, which is the passport. Now, you have to submit a copy of every single page of your passport. The reason we do this is because they check the stamps in the passport, they check to see if you've got any visas anywhere else or any visas have been issued in your passport since you got the non-lucrative visa. A lot of people say to me, why do they want that now? They didn't want it in the first consulate appointment. Well, I'm afraid it's every single page in the passport. What we ask people is to send it to us. What we find is that although the Mercurio government platform does allow you to upload documents in multi-formats, we find that PDF always works. Okay, they have a limit, a maximum limit of 5 megs on the documents that you're allowed to upload. And not all, but some of the provinces only allow you to upload up to 15 megs, which means that PDFs we can compress and still maintain the quality that we need. For our clients, we don't really care how you send it to us. If you send it to us in JPEG, however you want to send it to us, that's not a problem, as long as they are good copies. Please, no photos with fingers in it and stuff like that. It's got to be decent scans of all the documents that you send across. What we do offer for our clients is that you just post it to us and we do it for you. Obviously you can't post your passport, but you could secure courier. We could secure courier that back to you. Yeah, of course we could. So, but any sort of PDFs that you send or documents that you send have to be decent quality. We can manipulate them to fit to a size and a format that works for the government platform, but they have to be of good quality. So, passport, every single page, and we have to submit it in order and reduce the size quite significantly. Residency card, your TIE residency card. Is it a requirement on the list of things they ask for? No, it's not. Do we submit it? Yes, we do. We always do. You shouldn't have to, because the people who are actually going to issue your new card should have a copy of this. But we always find that it's a good idea to upload it and just show them that this is the correct card for the process that we're about to follow. Okay, moving down now on to healthcare. This is a good one. So private healthcare. If you're on private healthcare and you continue in on private healthcare, you always have to have healthcare during your residency period in Spain. If you've got private, then you will need to renew your healthcare and get an updated certificate from your provider. What we have seen is a lot of the providers have put people on an annually renewable contract from the 1st of January. So for the initial application, you have to have 12 months from the time of application, but some people have got to say March, and they've renewed them until January the 1st, and then they're going to continue from there, because that's the norm here. They normally do that. In Spain, when you buy healthcare, you buy it to the end of the year, then you have an annual fee. We haven't had any problems with this so far, as long as the certificate that you provide says on it annually renewable. Okay, so it has to be annually renewable. But yeah, you'll need to show that you have renewed your healthcare and have a certificate. Evidently, it has to state you have no co-payments and no excess. The same coverage you got for the first year, you have to continue for the renewal. If you have an S1, then you can have your, and you've registered your S1, then you'll have a document called Documento Acreditativo, which shows that you have access now to the healthcare. You might even have a medical card. The medical card alone is not enough to prove you've got healthcare. You have to submit the certificate which shows that you've got access to the healthcare. So the S1 on its own isn't enough. The card, once you've registered it, isn't enough. It's a certificate that you received to prove that the healthcare has been accepted, which is the main document you have to submit. Okay, it's no problem if you came on private healthcare and have now managed to go onto the S1 platform. It's not a problem switching, but you have to remember, for healthcare, it's either the private healthcare certificate or the certificate you got from the Social Security proving you have access to the state system. So those two. Then we're going to move on to the proof of financial stability. Right, well, remember then, for the renewals, you have to provide 2 times EPREM. 2 times EPREM. You have twice what you provided the first time. So let me explain. So at the moment, for a couple, it's at 36,000 euros a year, passive income, passive recurring income, or savings that you need. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all the calculations, because I'm going to put an article below which is called EPREM 2023, and in that article it explains exactly what EPREM is for this year, the amount of money that you need, and it also shows you what you're going to need to prove. Okay, but I want to explain there's many misconceptions about the financials. Excuse me. Now, the biggest misconception is that you only have to prove 1 year. No, you don't. But passive recurring income counts as double. Savings counts as single, i.e. that if you are a couple and you only have savings and no passive recurring income, you're going to need 72,000 euros. All right. If you have, for example, 20,000 euros in passive recurring income over the 2-year renewal period, that's 40,000, which means you're going to have a shortfall of 32,000 euros you have to make up in savings. Okay. Individual applicants, you can work it out, it's 28,800 a year, so you're going to have to double that if you've got savings, or you can prove you've got passive income at 28,800 a year, or a combination of two, taking into account that your passive recurring income is counted as double. Okay, now I may have people shouting at me saying, I've seen on the internet it's only 1 year. No, it's not. That is how it is. I can tell you we've done 150 or more renewals, and we have letters from the immigration office stating exactly what I've told you, how much money you need. Alright, so how are we going to prove that you have this money? First of all, if you have money in a Spanish bank account, then you can get a certificate called a Certificado de Saldo Actual, okay, which basically proves exactly how much you have in the account. Now I have to say the renewals that we've done with these certificates are the ones which are flying through. So if you have savings or you have cash and you're considering maybe not bringing it to Spain, for the renewal purposes, for people who's given us the minimum required amount from a Spanish bank and they have provided us with a certificate, there's not been many questions asked. Okay. Now, if you are a couple and you're applying, if the money is only in one person's name, then you're going to have to supply us with a marriage certificate, which is like you did for the first application, less than 90 days old, and if it's from the UK, it would have to have an apostille and a translation. Whereas a joint bank accounts in Spain with savings in it will produce 2 certificates or even 1 certificate in both persons' name. In those circumstances, you normally don't need a marriage certificate. Okay, so what happens if you've got your money in a UK bank account? That's fine. That's absolutely fine. You can use proof from a UK bank account, but be very aware that you have to provide translations of every single document which isn't presented in Spanish. It has to be officially translated by a legal translator in Spain. I know everybody's going to say, no, why? The first year I didn't have to do that. The consulates were really good. We didn't take translations of our bank account, etc., etc. Yeah, I understand that completely. It's very frustrating for us. But the consulates do the due diligence on the financials the first year. They don't particularly require translations of everything. This year you're applying directly to the subdelegación de gobierno, the subdelegation of the government in the province where you live, and they will not accept a document in English. Everything would have to be translated. The reason I'm saying that is because if you have a complicated bank structure in the UK, maybe with passive income going into that bank which you have to prove, or your savings in that bank with a whole load of other movements, and you give me a 30-page document to translate, who knows what that costs. What we have done is we have had accounts summarised from the UK, so people have got their savings in the account, and on one statement it shows January, February, March, April, the amount and the current amount at the bottom. That's a one-pager, that's absolutely fine. But if you have got passive income going into account and you have to prove it, you may be asked to prove a translation every single month, and that can be very expensive. Pension payments, right? Okay, yeah. So pension payments, it's always good to have a P60 which shows your overall pension going in, what your annual pension is. But from lately, the last couple of months, we've been asked to prove that pension going into a bank account. Again, if it goes into a UK bank account, there's lots of other transactions, could be costly translations. Do you own a property in Spain? Yes, if you've got a property in Spain, it's a very good idea to add a nota simpli. Okay, nota simpli is an up-to-date land registry document of which proves you're the current owner of the property, and you can easily get one of these online. And in fact, I'm going to put a link below to an article we wrote which tells you how to do that. Investments, rental income, other sources of passive income. Evidently, if you have investments, you can get an investment statement. As long as that investment statement, we will try and get an investment statement which shows that you have access to those funds, or explains when you have access to those funds. We don't really know how immigration react to the investment pots that maybe might be tied up so you don't have direct access to it. So when people use investments, always ask them, please, can you give me proof of the access you have to that, albeit penalised, that investment. Rental income, if you have rental income either from Spain or from the UK, evidently you're not allowed to run a holiday home here in Spain. You're not allowed to work, but anything like if you've got a second or third home here which you rent out long term, you can use that rental, no problem. But we would have to show a rental contract, proof that you're obviously declaring that income properly. You might not be at the income declaration stage yet, so that might not figure, but we'll definitely have to show the account where that is coming into, because we write a letter which accompanies the income, which proves every single bit, and at the bottom there's a total which shows why you qualify. What else have we got? The investment, passive income. Yeah, so as I said, everything in English has to be translated into Spanish. So if you're looking now coming over, or you're just watching this and you've just got your NLV, just think, how simple can I make my income? How simple can I make my savings to present it next year for immigration? Because recently we had one which was €1,000 in translations, because there was 3 rental properties, there was quite a few things. Now, to be fair, it flew through, it did very well, but it was very, very expensive translations. I felt awful for having to to get all the translations. So try and simplify your assets as much as possible. Get verifiable documents which prove what they are, and don't have too many documents that are not in Spanish, because then you'd have to get your translator on the go. Okay, so the next thing is the Padrón certificate. Yeah, well, do you know what? I'm going to be honest here. The Padrón isn't something that they have in their list of requirements. It is not. But we think it's always a good idea to submit a recently dated Padrón, which proves where you live or where you continue to live. You may have changed your address. If you have changed your address, then it's definitely a good idea to submit a Padrón document, because we're going to be filling out the EX01 with a different address to what you have registered with immigration, and they're going to want to know why. So I always ask for a Padrón dated within the last 90 days. Okay, so again, I'll put an article below which shows you how to get a Padrón certificate. Now we're moving on to marriage certificate. Right, why do you have this is always a big problem, and now we're also having a problem with people who may have got through the first year as unmarried couples and enjoyed the reduction in the financial requirement, and this year they're coming up against a big block with immigration, because immigration say, no, where's your marriage certificate? You have no legal right to access to this money. Basically, a marriage certificate is requested when one of the other parties has more of the assets in their name. All right, so again, we recently had one that was just a savings account in Spain, which was just in the spouse's name. He got approved, and they came back and said to us, you need to send us, they call it prueba de vinculación, so proof that the person who is married to the person who's the title holder of the account. Okay, so look at the way you structure your assets. Can they be joint? Can you have a joint account rather than just it all in one person's name? Because the likelihood is, if it's all in one person's name, you are going to have to provide a marriage certificate to prove why you qualify with that person. If you do get asked for this, or maybe we do the study and we're going to ask you for one anyway, remember, if you got married in the UK, it has to be a marriage certificate which is recently dated, it has to have an apostille, and it has to have a legal translation as well. Okay, so there we go, and I'm moving on to the last part. And finally, what happens once you submit it? Well, once you submit it, you get a document called a justificante. This document is an online document which proves that it's been submitted, and then you can track your application online using your NIE number. All right. Now, the justificante doesn't always download, can you believe it, from a government website. A lot of times we do the application, but you go to download the PDF to prove that you've done it, and it comes up error. So what happens in those circumstances is we actually print out a screenshot of that error, and we keep that with the file, and then we check on the system when that file goes live. If that file doesn't go live in 3 days, then we contact immigration through a platform which they call the incident platform, and we tell them, look, we did this on Mercurio, send them the codes and ask them what's going on. If you're doing this yourself, make sure that you take screenshots at every stage of the process, just in case the platform collapses for any reason and you're left, did it go in, did it not go in, because you can't put 2 applications in. Once you've started the registration process, if you go to put another one in, it'll just ping up, no, you've got an application in. But if you've got an error halfway through, you don't know if all the documents were uploaded or not. So that's something to be very wary of. Okay then, right, well that's the main points of our list. I hope that was handy for everybody. Remember, after the first year, you will get 24 months on your TIE card. When we get our resolution back, we get a notification to say that we have what's called a resolution. This comes in a piece of paper. You then have to go to the police station with that and your relevant documents. So you're going to need an EX17. You're going to need another tax form, but this time it's the 790012. And you go to the police station, you register your new residency. What they normally do is they let you take your old card back, and then when you go to pick up the new one, you can hand it in and retain the new card. Some places retain the card and they'll just give you a document called a resguardo. If you remember that from your first year, the document which proves that you're a resident before you're able to pick up your card. Some places don't, it depends really. Evidently, if you're one of our clients, then we'll be at the appointment with you anyway, so any problems we can sort out there and then. Oh, another point is make sure that your passport's in date. You have to have a passport in date. It doesn't have to have 2 years on it, believe it or not, but it has to be in date. What other points have we got? The photo. Don't use the same photo as the previous year. Okay, get yourself a new photo. Because sometimes I'll look at it and go, oh, you haven't changed, we can't have the same one from the previous year. Almeria, for example, pretty lapsed on that. They're like, oh yeah, we've joked about it. Oh, they haven't changed, in fact they look younger. Other places are really strict. They've said this photo is more than 3 months old, you can't use it. So our advice would be get new photos for your application when you go for your TIE card. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching. That's our NLV renewals video. And if you've got any questions, feel free to pop them in the video below. If you're a client of ours, then you know you'll already have your email, so you can just email me and ask if you've got any questions at all. Okay, thanks for watching.